Today's episode, we're going to talk about the 3 dark traits: a psychopath, sociopath, and a narcissist.
It sounded like 2 3-year-olds who've got flu trying to sing.
People use it interchangeably, but are they? I googled psychopath, I got Ted Bundy. I googled sociopath, I got Ted Bundy. They talk about sociopath and they talk about psychopath. What exactly is the difference? Because they actually use it interchangeably. Today in this channel, we're going to explain. They say the sociopath is a learned behavior and a psychopath is a born with behavior genetically. Is that true? And one has almost no feelings and one has some feelings and some guilt sometimes. And the other one, that's the narcissist. What's the difference between all these 3? And if I ask you, for example, who's a narcissist, who's a psychopath, who's a sociopath, what would be your answer? So we're at the affluent part of Singapore. This is Sentosa Cove. Houses, yards, the who's who lives here. Some of the houses going for over $25 to $40 million. Today I'm so privileged to have a person with us. He's Nick Jarvistan. He's a behavioral scientist.
Right. Hi, Chris. Good to meet you all today.
What the hell? Same clothes.
So I studied behavioral science in Notre Dame, Australia.
Do you know the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath?
Both of them, what they have in common is a lower sense of conscience. Between the two, psychopath may not have a sense of conscience. So when he or she does something that could be seen as negative, right, or harmful to people, he may not feel a sense of remorse or feeling bad about it. A sociopath might feel some part of it because he would have a conscience and he might have some empathy.
The show Psycho comes from the word psychopath.
How we diagnose such things, right? We don't say that this is a mental illness, but we will classify it under what we call an antisocial personality
Disorder.
Right, or
Okay.
behavior. Right, so this person has antisocial behavior. We won't say he's a narcissist per se, but we might say he has an antisocial personality disorder.
You mentioned narcissist. What exactly is a narcissist?
Yeah. So narcissist is someone who has a very grandiose sense of self.
Okay.
Someone with a very
Superiority complex.
inflated sense of self, right,
Okay.
against reality. A very high need for.
I can only think of one person. Okay, never mind. Who would comes to your mind when you talk about a narcissist?
Oh goodness, right. I wonder who comes to mind when I think.
Oh, crazy Simon.
You're like an elephant trying to skydive with a tiny parachute indoors.
What the hell are you talking about?
Donald Trump?
Maybe.
Trump supporters are not anti-Trump. I just feel that he fits the description that Nick here is describing.
But you have no choice but to vote for me because your 401ks, down the tubes, everything's going to be down the tubes. So whether you love me or hate me, you got to vote for me.
Is Trump a narcissist? Or do you have a better example? Can you just put it into the thread? Okay, what about a psychopath? Who would be a psychopath?
A psychopath is someone who would be usually more manipulative, right? They're really very highly intelligent. When people say that these people don't have empathy, actually what they do have is they do have the ability to mirror empathy, to mirror what the person is thinking, what the person is feeling.
Right.
But so when people say these people have no feelings, that's ironic because they are really great readers of feelings. It's just that they use it to manipulate people.
Right.
Right. So they
don't show feelings.
They don't show feelings,
Right.
right? So they may be able to feel something, but they just don't care.
Okay.
Right, so psychopaths are more manipulative in nature, and
So
these are
con-men
people-
would be?
they
mostly?
could mostly psychopathic more than sociopathic.
Okay.
The difference would be that a sociopath could be someone who looked very well adjusted, right? In fact, many a times, interestingly enough, people in high leadership positions may possess a little bit of the Dark Triad.
Hitler?
Possibly.
Okay.
Right. But a sociopath would usually have more erratic behaviors and might have an inability to get along with people. So that's a bit of a tell.
Sociopath, right?
Sociopath,
Okay.
right? So they have less empathy. They may not get along with people. Right. They may be a bit more erratic. But
Right.
the psychopath sometimes could be a bit more difficult to diagnose.
Okay, a psychopath can camouflage his behavior. He can be very manipulative. He can put on a different persona to trick you. But a psychopath somehow he shows rage and he shows inability to control his emotions.
Yep.
A narcissist is a person that thinks very superior of himself, right? And superiority complex. Who would be a sociopath to you?
Well, I can think of people closer to home, right? In our own family system, if you could think of someone like that who might be like that for you.
You know that lady, that pretty lady from Thanos? What's her name? Elizabeth
Theranos
Holmes?
or Elizabeth
Yeah,
Holmes.
Thanos.
May not. She would likely not be a sociopath, right? She might have an antisocial personality disorder, maybe a little bit of a psychopathy, perhaps, because even after what has happened, there were no signs of remorse, which is often a behavior.
The guy that
that's
did the
associated.
Ponzi scheme, Murdoch.
Oh, yeah. So it could be psychopathy because highly intelligent, very manipulative. Sometimes perhaps people have a mix of the dark traits. So
Why is it every time I go to you, you just lean away? It's something to do with
repelling,
the
I don't know, like
psychopathic thing or something.
Yeah, so people might have might have overlapping traits sometimes. Right.
Okay.
So the other one that you didn't talk about today that you want to mention and people might know is Machiavellianism. That's
Okay.
actually one of the dark triads,
Wow.
right? Yeah.
I totally don't know what that is. I think it's
Pragmatic
slowly
stance.
sliding out of the screen again.
All
Okay.
right. So this is someone who has a more pragmatic stance.
Right.
The ends justifies the means
Mhm.
sometimes. So there are people who are much more pragmatic, and
Okay.
so they are able to sometimes take seemingly cruel or ruthless decisions. Right. That might be very painful, but likely sometimes could benefit the rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's another possible dark triad.
This psychology universe is like so huge, right? Like, it's like so deep, right? How long do you spend on this?
Well, I mean, if you do an undergrad degree in psychology, it could take a few years, 2 to 4 years, and if you want to.
So one for Singapore, Amos Yee. What is he?
I think he definitely has been diagnosed with some antisocial personality behaviors, likely sociopathic in nature because of his erratic behavior, sometimes inability to get along with people.
Right.
Right, can be very rude, can be very distasteful.
18-year-old controversial Singaporean blogger Amos Yee has been invited to speak in his first ever public talk at Harvard University on November 13th. Jailed for dissent, an open conversation with Amos Yee would be open to the public.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Apparently some people from Harvard are so impressed by my work of bashing the Singapore government and the Quran and getting arrested for that they invited me to give a talk at Harvard. Harvard booked a completely free hotel and plane ticket for me.
Recently, when he was overseas, I think he was trying to engage a minor. In some
Okay.
kind of,
So
so
he-
there's some deviancy involved.
So in case you don't know who Amos Yee is, he's a very infamous young teenager from Singapore. He made fun of our Prime Minister, he used vulgarities, he used all kinds of expletives, he offended all kinds of religious organizations. Then he looked for an extradition to asylum in the United States. United States gladly took him in. Now United States regret to export him back to Singapore. We don't take returns, so he's in prison right now. Carry on.
Many a times, if someone is sociopathic, right, and they continue to develop negative traits in their life or act on some of this negative behavior,
Yeah. Sorry, I have attention disorder.
ADHD, adult ADHD is also it's not uncommon also. So maybe some form of sexual deviancy could also be in the cards for him. We don't know. I mean, again, we are not analyzing. We are simply speculating here. Yeah. So all of this is for entertainment purposes, right? Not to analyze a person. We're not.
And if you enjoyed what you just heard or even understood half of it, give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you want Nick to come back again on other episodes and explain to you more behaviors, just put down in the comment. I'll get him back. He's really, really expensive. Gonna buy him an expensive dinner all the way onto the other side. It's called Quayside Isle. And what do you feel like eating tonight?
Looking forward to it. Some nice Greek seafood, perhaps, since we're by the sea today.
Okay, I'm gonna check my credit card and let's see whether I brought that up today.
Yeah,
Should be okay.
Should be okay.
Should be okay.
All right. If not, we can just maybe wash the dishes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you, and see you next time.
See you again. Bye.